Hey everybody, it's Jill, and today I am baking up something good. We've been invited to a friend's house and they said, can you bring a dessert? And I said, yeah, you know. Well, strawberries are really big right now, they're in, and so I'm making a strawberry shortcake, and I'm using this great old book. There's a shortcake recipe in there that I think I made a lot of years ago. And as I recall it, it was really good, but I'm going to change the recipe, you know me, and my little spin that I put on stuff. It's the recipe called cream biscuits, and if you have this book, this is of course the famous Fannie Farmer cookbook. It's on page 544, and it's the cream biscuit recipe, but it's pretty rich, and so I decided to change it a little bit. So let's go ahead and we will get started. Right on down here to the bowl. Okay, recipe calls for 2 cups of flour. I've got those in. It calls for 1 teaspoon of salt. Throw that in there. Calls for 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Okay, and 2 teaspoons of sugar. And I'm going to kick that up a little bit and make it 1 tablespoon. All right. We're going to go ahead and get this all mixed in really well. And it looks pretty well there. Okay, now it calls for 1.5 cups of heavy cream. Well, that is not going to happen anymore, on my watch at least. So what I did was I took some fat-free half and half and some skim milk, and I did basically half and half, and that's what we're going to use. So it says to put in about 1 cup of it to see how it holds together, and that is what I'm doing right now. I remember this recipe. I know I made it a number of years ago, and as I recall, they were delicious. But I think I get to the kneading part of it, which I reread in the instructions, because you pull this together and then you knead it. So it's, you know, it's easily handled. And I think that was where I kind of got into a hang up. I'm going to go ahead and look how we're doing here. Well, not too bad. By the way, you want to have your oven preheated at 4 1/4 Fahrenheit, just to let you know. Well, actually, it's not as scary as I remembered it. It's a little wet, and I didn't add the entire amount of milk, or the cream mixture, I should say. So I'm going to go ahead and scrape that down a little bit. Yeah, I think we're in a good position here to do a little bit of kneading. So I'm going to go ahead and clean some space here so we can do a little kneading. I'll be right back. Okay, I've got my space cleared here, and I've got some room and some just a little bit of flour on the board here at my counter. So I'm scraping out my bowl, and as you noticed, I used my new bowl today. See how beautiful that is? That's the one I got on our trip. I just adore it. I've used it several times now. Made a huge salad in it one night, which was beautiful. And even though the dough is the same color as the bowl, I couldn't help but want to use it. So I'm going to put a little bit of flour in here. I may even need more, so let me get a cup. There we go. Now I have enough. And I'm just going to go ahead and knead this very gently. It says to knead it for about 1 minute. So it's not too tacky, and actually it's coming together very nicely. A little bit more. When you make enough bread or biscuits or whatever over the years, you know, and this is old-timey cooking for me. I've been at it for a lot of years, and after a while you start to just kind of get the feel for food and how it's supposed to feel in your hands. And that's a hard thing to pass on. It's almost like you have to be a part of the experience. Sometimes YouTube helps you and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, this feels very nice. It's not tacky. It feels like a really nice soft dough. And it says now to go ahead and spread it out into a 1/2 inch. It says square. So I don't know about square, but we'll see about that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pat this out to what I think is about a 1/2 inch. I need a little more flour on my hands. I don't want to stick. Okay, I think that looks like that's about a 1/2 inch to me, maybe a little thicker, but I think we look good there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on hold for a minute and I'll get my baking pan ready. Okay, I am back and I've got my pan all ready. This is just a nice aluminum bake pan, and I've got my silpat in here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this into triangles, kind of a scone kind of look. Cut it in quarters first, and then I will cut it again like that. So I should end up with 8 pieces, right? Yeah. Okay, now one of the things the recipe said, and I recall I did not do this when I made the first recipe, it says you're to dip the entire thing in butter. Well, melted butter. And I have the melted butter, but I'm not going to dip these in the melted butter. I will go ahead and, you know, brush it on. Let me get these on the cookie sheet and we'll be back. All right, I've got them on the cookie sheet here, and I went through and just kind of gently kind of pressed them just a little bit more to help maintain that 1/2 inch, you know, thickness. So I've just got some melted butter here. Instead of dipping them completely in butter, I'm just going to just get the top. I had looked in the store today when I was buying strawberries for some sort of a shortcake or something like that to use, and I said none of them looked very good. And I thought, you know, this is such an it really is a super easy recipe. I didn't do anything magical as far as the camera went. It just was so quick and so few ingredients, and that is that. So I'm going to bring you up here. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in a 425-degree oven. They're supposed to cook approximately 15 minutes until they're good and golden brown, and I'll also kind of take a touch test to see if they feel like, you know, they're not doughy on the inside. And then once those are done, we will come back and take a look at them. And I wish you could smell them because I suspect they'll be smelling really good. So we'll be back. These are done. Don't they look amazing? They took exactly 17 minutes in my oven. At 15 minutes, they weren't quite brown enough, so I turned the oven off and I gave them 2 more minutes. And this is how beautiful. Look at the bottoms. Is this pretty? Just as a picture. So we're going to take a taste. Hang on here. Now, as I told, sorry about that. As I told, oh, you cut your head off. You got it?
Oh, you cut
There we go.
off.
How's that, good? No. As I told, you know, I said this is not something we're going to eat tonight, but we got one because we got one.
Go ahead. You first.
It looks beautiful, doesn't it? Isn't that pretty? The color. Okay. All right, there
Thank
we go.
you.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna serve these cut open, right? You got to cut open.
Yes. With berries.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, it smells good.
But you know what? Here's what I wonder. What do you think of that?
I think it's too chewy for berries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That the inside should be drier.
I'm thinking I changed the recipe up a lot. It had full fat cream, you know, that kind of thing.
I mean, it's very tasty.
It's very delicious. Well, and if you turn it apart.
But yeah, it's a little doughy.
You know what I think it is? We're used to Excuse me, I got my mouth full. This needs improvement. Absolutely. Not that we're not going to not take it out to our friend's house. First of all, I wonder if 24 hours, because it's not until tomorrow, if they will change a little bit.
I don't know.
There's something I think about that full fat cream that maybe did something different. But this is more like a biscuit.
Yeah.
Really more like a biscuit.
It is.
Excellent flavor.
Delicious.
Very crusty on the outside.
But it's too moist and little.
It's too dense.
I agree.
Well, there you go. So here's what happened the following day. Those little scones, they turned out so wonderful. The taste was delicious, but the outside crust was too tough. You couldn't cut it with a fork. So we all thought about this, and the director said, I know what we could do. Let's cut it up into little squares, you know, kind of like bread that you'd make bread pudding with. So we cut them up in little squares and put them on the bottom of the bowl, and then we put our fruit on top and then a little squirt of whipped cream. Let me tell you, they were delicious that way, but I still don't know what happened. I can't imagine it could have been anything but the cream difference, because I've made that recipe before. I did it the same way I always do it, and it's just kind of puzzling that we had that heavy, thick crust on it. But the director saved the day. They were delicious. Our friends, it was Mother's Day, and our friends thought it was great. So there you go. I will post the recipe, and you know, if you want to try them, I try them that way. I'll put the exact measurements as the recipe went, with mine in parentheses, so you can see the difference. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching. Tell your friends, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and pass this recipe on to somebody else. And I hope to see you back. Take care. Bye-bye.